Hello, everyone. I'm Alec from Rack to Confuse and Let's Get You Painted. And here we have a special episode of Let's Get You Painted. I have Chris with Dr. Ether, and we are going to be painting and discussing all the great things about Warmachine and just painting in general. Chris, how are you doing? Tell me a little bit about yourself.
I'm good. I've It's been a quite few weeks because I've finished up some writing contracts and just generally things at work are kind of just a bit quieter. So it's as I'm preparing some work, but yeah, generally good. I guess most people know me either as Dr. Ether on Instagram, where I post minis and stuff about events I go to for the role play game or for the war games and role play games. I am one of the hosts of Dark Days Radio, which is a podcast that's been going on for now over 15 years that I've been hosting it. So it's at least 16 or 17 years at this point, I think. Yeah, something like that. And so we podcast about horror RPGs primarily. We used to do things like World of Darkness and Chronicles of Darkness, and more recently we've branched more out to like covering Warhammer RPGs, Iron Kingdoms RPG, other horror RPGs. I also do some episodes that are specifically about we do also specific episodes about wargaming, which we call Realm of Fire, where we cover all war games and talk about Warmachine. One of the most recent episodes up for that, we I interviewed Matt Hart and Sherwin Matthews. So we were
Mhm.
talking about obviously the new narrative game pack that came out last week.
It was a
So
really
the
good
narrative
episode.
and
I,
casual
I
game.
liked it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it was cool because it was one of the things that I think the highlight of that we got into was uh, the concept of how the Journeyman League and how you collect your War Machine army actually fits into what you call what's called in wargaming stillmania, where you build your army and you just
Mhm.
you paint it, you collect it, but you don't change the army list. You just leave it as is because it forces you to just not do meta chasing, which I think for casual gaming is perfectly is a good way. You don't get caught up in that thing where you feel like you have to buy every model
Everything. Yeah.
and have double of everything, all the options, which will break your bank balance. If you're not chasing to play tournament play, like don't get suckered in for that. And and also if you do collect, a good amount, you go that's 100 points. I'll leave it as that. You do actually have quite a lot of options, thanks to the way that War Machine collects, to then tinker about at the smaller end of the scale of the games. Like 50
Mhm.
points and and 75. Um, so yeah, that was a fun episode and talking about like the lore. Um, and what else can I say? Yeah, I write for the RPGs, write for Iron Kingdoms RPG, and I write for some other RPGs. I'm developing an RPG called
Ooh.
Trash Humanism, so I'm doing that in
Hmm.
conjunction with the musician Le Destroy. So she did an album and then a graphic novel. So we're doing an RPG based upon that. Uh, and yeah, so there's a few other things going on. I'll most probably be at Lock and Load EU. I say EU. It's ridiculous. It's called Lock and Load EU just to truncate that it's Lock and Load Europe, even though
Yes.
the UK is not part of the European Union anymore. So
We laugh
it just
about that.
sounds
Yeah,
yeah,
I,
it
I
just
get
sounds
that.
better to do that. So yeah, I'll be at that. You know, recording things and playing some games. I think I'm mostly leaning to doing all the narrative stuff and just being a bit casual with it. And then there's some other events coming up, which I'm doing demos of War Machine at. So there's KrugerCon, which is run by my local gaming club. So that's kind of participation games plus like a bring and buy sale, as it were,
Mhm.
to get rid of your old minis. Then there's ChillCon, which is also in Sheffield, which takes place over 2 days. So I'm running demos of War Machine on Saturday for that one, and then on the Sunday I'm doing the painting clinic. So I'm going to be painting more of my Gator Men. I think is my plan to keep it nice and simple. and then after that one, there's another Sheffield-based event which is called Lead and Steel, which is an old hammer event, but again is on my doorstep, and I'll be running Warmachine again because Warmachine at this point is old hammer. It's 20 years old, um,
It is. We
so
all
it may
feel
as well.
old at that point in time, I
Yeah,
guess.
so I'll be running demos there and doing a I've got given a whole load of Citadel miniatures from a friend, and they all date back to, like, the early days. Like, these miniatures are really ancient, and so I'll be basically letting people do a pick and mix of those, like, a quid a miniature kind of thing,
Okay.
and all the money from that will go to Cancer Research UK, because I've had two friends go uh, through cancer therapy, and they're in remission. So that seems like the good thing to do. Um, what else is going on?
I mean, you're pretty
Um,
busy, man. That is some intense stuff.
yeah, there's some other cool stuff that I can't talk about, which is a shame. Like, I'm under NDAs or whatever for.
I I understand
And
that.
then yeah, so I'm painting Gatormen right now because I've got Jaga Jaga through the post yesterday.
Hmm.
So put together, and it made me realize how much I don't miss metal miniatures. uh,
I
I've
had an
got
entire convergence army. I understand those
yeah,
convergence angels, the little metal ones, if you
oh,
remember,
terrible.
they like horrible connection points, and you'd look at them and they would break. I I remember
Yeah.
that all too well.
And then I'm just going to transition my camera. I've got Prisoner, whatever the hell she's called, to finish off painting. Like,
Hmm.
it's just a quick paint job just to add to my um, options. Um, and then I've got the auxiliary expansion for Gravediggers to finish, well, to paint. And I'm mostly going to try and paint Extreme Plugger uh, for Lock and Load, for
Okay.
the painting competition, just to do that. So, but I'm not touching him until my P3 paints have arrived, because I've got the starter set,
Hmm.
and just this week I bought about came to like I guess it's about I bought 30 of the other paints that I haven't got, and I think there's about 50 paints in the entire range. So I will have most of them. And that's what I'm going to use, because I'm at the point where I'm like, I want to do I wouldn't mind doing some, not recorded, but doing like written uh, painting schemes
Hmm.
um, for social media. And the thing I cannot be bothered trying to work out is going like, I've used this paint. What is it in the P3 range? And so I can't be bothered working that out. So I want to kind of keep to using P3 from now on, and also my other go-to paint range is scale 75, because they've also got a really huge range,
Hmm.
and their metallics are really good. So, and I'm just kind of sick of like paying money to for Citadel paints when some of them just dry out in no time. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, I prefer the P3s. My favorite are some of the classic P3s. I like the new stuff. I have,
yeah,
the new ones right here. Um, I actually really like the irregular set that you could get through the Kickstarter, because some of the colors in there that you're never like, or at least for what they said, you're never gonna be able to get again unless you did the
yeah.
Kickstarter. Some of those are just fun. And then the other one I normally use is Pro Acryl. I've definitely kind of gotten away from Citadel paints. I used to love them back in the day, but it just the quality's not there.
Yeah, I mean, I use Citadel paints mainly because I like and that's what I'm going to use here is contrast paints. So
Hmm.
I need to ask Matt again, Matt Hart, what his uh mixing medium is to turn P3s into to act like contrast paints, because he's got some magic kind of, you know mix to
So
dilute paints with.
I do it to a 1 to 6 with so it's 1 to 6 with mixing medium, and then I do 1 drop of water for when I do it.
Right.
I mean that's what I do with it, but he probably has a better, he paints these with these a lot more than us. He probably has a really good connection.
Yeah.
So tell me about your painting techniques. Like what do you when you
Um,
paint, why do you paint and how do you paint?
so I would say, because I worked,
Sorry,
I'm not
if
out
is
to
that is
do.
that a hard question? That's okay.
No, no,
That's
no. It's I've got to just think while I'm painting. That's all it is. It's I think when I basically aim for two different styles. Like if I'm doing for armies, then I'm doing tabletop standard. Then I'm not going to try and get the most amazing blends in the world.
hmm
I'm going to rely on like doing in this I'll do zenithal primes. I'll do under base coats, undersprays of a particular color if it'll help me.
hmm
I might do slap chop. I'll make use of contrast paints because it'll put down the prime color, the main bulk colors that I want to block in quite easily and give me that immediate shading. So I'm all about trying to find what some people call shortcuts or cheating, but maybe, but
I
it's
think
not.
that's
It's all
perfectly okay. That's
yeah, exactly.
I'm all about just
Uh,
helping people get out there, get their stuff painted, and get to the table
yeah,
so they can get reps in and play.
yeah, and that's the thing. Cause like I worked in a Games Workshop store for like 3 years when I was doing my undergrad. So I speed painted a whole lot of stuff, um, and it had to look good on the table from like
Four
from
feet away.
from 4 feet away kind of thing, or you just had to paint loads for an event that they were going to be used at, and so yeah, you just kind of get used to just knowing where to fight your battles really with it. And if I'm doing something more involved, or I want to get kind of more smoother kind of shading and stuff going on, then I will crack out the airbrush, and that's how I've done most of my grave diggers, because I painted those as ghost dogs. So I've got they're all airbrushed to get the grey base, the grey main armor done.
hmm
Um, and if I'm doing Kingdom Death, then I really then start taking my time. I'll do non-metallics for Kingdom Death, whereas like for Warmachine, I just cannot be bothered thinking that hard. So I'll just go to use some good metallic paints because again, I'd rather just get it on the table. I
Absolutely.
mean, and then some stuff I might do in a more painterly kind of manner where you kind of do see the brush strokes, which is not a bad thing. And it's not a bad, it's not a terrible approach. Um, I wouldn't mind kind of learning a bit more. I wouldn't mind getting some of the tutorials by Craft World Studio because their painting style is very interesting. Like I say, very painterly. Because they'll use particular ways to shade things or to make things look like they're brighter or a different color by the way that they've been shaded or just the placement of color.
hmm
Um, so yeah, it really depends upon the project. So uh, about what I'm doing.
Did you ever do two brush blending like Dallas Kemp taught when he was at P3?
Um, yeah, I've tried it a few times. It wasn't really my thing. It just felt too much like faffing about with with always having one brush ready and the other one. Um, uh, yeah, I think I'm much more into the like. I'd rather just stick with just if I'm going to do something a bit more involved with blending, then I'll just do glazes.
Okay.
Which like like when you've got like the likes of like contrast paints in the world, they're quite useful for doing that. Or I think even classic P3 is quite good for glazing because the way it separates quite nicely.
hmm
Or it thins without separating. I mean, so
Yes. There
to
were so
to
many
do
what the color pigment in it that you could sit there and get it watered down, get it thinned out, and really get it to blend
yeah.
well.
So we're gonna let that dry a little bit, and then I'll hit it with get the big snake with a different contrast paint, and that'll get me most of the way there. I think. Don't know what contrast paint I'm going to use to get it like. I need something that's a bit more pink. Um,
So as we're chatting right now, I am painting one of the Gravedigger machine gun crews.
Okay.
And this specific crew, I actually have it slightly off. So he's not the ammo's not going already into the weapon like how most people have it. I have it with the equivalent of what you would call like feeding it, so the guy's putting it
Yeah.
in. So let's see if I can get the camera to adjust. I have the camera right now, two cameras set up, one for the palette and this, and then one for face. So on stream, people can see it better, or in recordings, they can see it a little bit better. But
Yeah.
sometimes Discord doesn't like when I use two cameras. It gets mad at me, which happens sometimes. You were able to get it to work
Uh,
beautifully. When I try to do it, it always
that's
crashes.
it's just need you just it's OBS plus plus virtual camera on it.
Gotcha. Okay. I'll have to sit there and try to work with it.
That's the setup. Use OBS to handle all your compositing.
Yeah.
Don't let Discord try anything because it's rubbish.
I feel like it always tries to override and then it just doesn't work well. And it is what
So
it is. Go ahead.
so yeah, I think I'm mostly gonna do like I say a pink for the big undead snake thing, and then
Hmm.
tidy up around it, and then just identify what's gonna be more earthy colors and or metallics or bright colors. Like that headdress is mostly going to start off as a I'll mostly just start off as a red because then it's going to be I think with the Gatemen it's quite fun. You can be quite colorful with them,
Hmm.
and the same with I think Trollkin quite suit more crazy colors.
Hmm.
Chimera you can do some weird things with as well. um like in hindsight, I don't actually like the way I painted the Chimera starter set.
Really?
I think no, I think I would mostly not use metallic paints whatsoever for them. I think I would go for this kind of like go for something that looks more like organic ceramic kind of um, materials. Um,
Okay.
Kind of more like I guess what I'm suggesting is if you've ever watched the anime Bio Boosted Armor Guyver, it would be kind of going for that kind of that feel of organic armor rather than using anything that's an actual metallic paint.
Okay.
Um, but that's hindsight. I'm not really a fan of the Chimera faction anyway, so I'm not going to be collecting them. It's not one of the armies I've got currently. Uh, no, the armies I've got Gravediggers, Storm Legion, Winter Corps, uh, Old Umbre, Crix, and Scorn, which I've got half painted.
Okay.
And I need to continue with that at some point. And then I may. If the big questions are is like have to wait and see what Graveborn are going to be like once the rest of that range is revealed. And Gatormen, I'm mostly they surely got to be bringing those to STL at some point. So
Oh, absolutely. I think they
um,
are.
so that'll be a good one to get printed off. I don't have a printer, but someone can print for me, which would be good. Um, and then the other, I'm kind of intrigued by Crucible Guard because I quite enjoyed painting the command starter for them.
Hmm.
Uh, and there's some really cool designs in there with the jump pack, yeah, the Rocketeer type troopers. So
Hmm.
yeah, it's a really it's basically it's a really good time for Warmachine. There's so many options whether you want to buy new stuff or you want to print stuff or you've got existing armies or old armies and you are dumpster diving eBay and wherever to find those miniatures.
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
whereas like yeah
Okay.
you can pretty much play with every miniature that's ever been produced for the game, which is good.
It is nice that way. I got into, as most people know, I got into Warmachine at Apotheosis, so about halfway through Mark One, and the number of armies that I have had over the years is, I think the worst I ever was 12 armies. Right now I have, well, obviously Protector of Menoth, which I've been playing for 22 years. Then
Hmm.
let's see, Scorn, Steelheads, Pirates, because I break up the mercenaries into multiples because I used to have like the fully
Yeah.
painted, fully played. Grimkin, Kador, Old Signar, um, Crix, Crucible Guard, Convergence of Cirrus. Trying to think of what else. I'm sure there's other ones I'm forgetting right now. But then for newer armies, I'm painting Gravediggers because I really like the airborne aspect of it, and I like the it felt different with airdrops, with being able to drop in weapons, drop in a light warjack, change things up, drop in magical weapons and a boost and a crate for things. I thought that was a really cool dynamic. So I started painting Gravediggers, and then we found out that Adepticon this year we're gonna have new Menoth, so I'm super excited about that.
Is that
Um,
confirmed? Is it for Adepticon
that's
that they're going to
confirmed.
reveal?
They're gonna reveal it. They've
Wow.
I know it's something huge because like I said I've been playing Protector of Menoth for years. Privateer Press
And
at the end of
and
their go ahead.
I was going to say, because also like from the rule book, like because obviously the Menoth is one faction that was in there in the background section, because of
Hmm.
course they are bringing the back, and the other one is Scorn. So Scorn are clearly somewhere on the roadmap. So that's going to be exciting when that also drops.
Very much so. I'm so excited. I've yeah, I've put so much work. I've kit bashed so many things over the years for Protective Mana that I'm waiting for like them to come back. And I always used to I used to joke on the forums and on the Facebook page and the Discord that I want Zoo Menoth, and they're like, no
Yeah,
dinosaurs. And I was like, that's fine. I'll just buy dinosaurs over here and put my guys on them. So
yeah.
for
I have no idea what design language they're going to go for it, but I mean, it'll be interesting. It'll be definitely interesting.
I hope so. I mean, I either way, I'm probably gonna buy the whole faction. Let's be honest. Like that's one of those things I'm just gonna get full on in and you know, was it all gas no brakes. I'm just straight like, oh, here's new Menoth. Perfect. Let's go.
Yeah,
Uh, but you were talking about earlier about IKRPG Requiem. So I was actually given the privilege of when they were before they were released for Kickstarter and stuff, help like play testing and stuff like that. So I've had a lot of fun. I've been playing the original IKRPG since the D20 system through
yeah.
2D6, and when we had a system when I was stationed in Germany with my wife. We had a game that went 3.5 years, a campaign, and then in Virginia Beach we had a campaign that went 2.5 years, and then I've started up a new campaign up here that's been going about 4 months, where we meet
Hmm.
between once every 2 weeks to once a month, depending on scheduling. Because as adults, we all have
Yeah,
families and kids and work, and but we actually
yeah.
just
Scheduling's the hardest thing.
yeah we actually just had last month. I took them through IKRPG, and some of the people brought their pre-existing characters, and some people brought their new characters, and it's nice for some of them because some of the RPG players, they don't really know how to paint. They're not used to playing a tabletop game, but they can sit down and work on their character or their warjack or things like that, and they work, and I'll be honest, between you, me, and the internet, I'm trying to get all of them into Warmachine to play with us up here because there's not really a big scene up here in Watertown. But, come spring when all the snow melts and it's not horrible to drive in anymore, I'm gonna go,
Yeah,
full on and get that community started up here, hopefully. Uh, but that's kind of one of those things like I've been teaching them. They're like, oh, I look at all these beautiful people painting. I look at, you know, Ninja and stuff, and I can't do that. I'm like, you don't have to. Just paint to
no,
your level, to your like. Don't stress out about it, because so many people see it and they get so stressed. They're like, don't stress, just relax, just you know, paint, and you'll be fine. And eventually, you just get better. And I was like,
yeah.
I've been
Because
painting for. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say because like I think a good one person whose channel is definitely worth checking out. because they're an army painter. Like what they do for their painting is looks good, but it's not trying to be, you know, too complicated or because they want to get stuff on the table to game. Is Chris Peach with
Hmm.
Peachy Tips.
Yep.
Um, his stuff is just really, just it's just uncomplicated. It's like, base coat, and then do your do your washes, do your contrast paint, do one or two highlights, but it doesn't have to be um it doesn't have to be a an amazing work of art, because the level of effort between painting something to be on the tabletop and something for, like, a painting competition are they're very different things and different skill sets in some respects. um it's it's realize I mean, half the challenge with painting toy soldiers is knowing when to call it done, like to go,
Hmm.
That's fine, that's done, no need to keep messing around with it, to the extent that you might actually start doing things that actually make
Make it
things
worse.
make it worse. And then the other thing is, once you get it to a certain stage, it's amazing how a good kind of, like, again, this comes from like army painting, but like, say, a good overall wash,
Hmm.
just to bring all the elements together so they feel more unified, can hide multiple flaws in the miniature, but while it and then it looks perfect on the table. It looks great for the tabletop use. So you don't need to like mess around with it. And the other thing I would actually say on that front is, you don't need to paint everything on the miniature even. um
Hmm. Absolutely.
like, don't force yourself to paint every minutia of a miniature, because in this day and age, I think, and this is perhaps one of the I think one of the it's one of the things which I'll say is, I think it's important about Warmachine's design style, and it's a credit to like Matt Hart stepping in and saying, no, there's too many rivets on that surface, like, tone it back. um
Sorsha 3 painting the 133 rivets on her. So if you remember old
yeah,
Kador, Sorsha, like she was in the Ironclad, or not Ironclad, Man of Warhammer. I painted that as a
yeah,
commission piece for someone, and I counted every single rivet as I painted. Yeah, I understand what you're talking about there. And yeah, Matt
yeah,
Hart has
because, like,
definitely done a great thing.
yeah, because 3D sculpting, while being great and allowing you to do designs which, when you combine it with 3D printing or plastics, allows you to do designs that were in the past not possible. um but it opens up to being a tool that can be abused, because you're like, well, you're adding loads of detail, and it's like, but are you ever going to see it? Is someone actually going to paint this? And it's like, well, no, they're mostly not going to. So, um and I think that's what I would call is the is where, when you compare, like, the designs of Warmachine, and some people go, oh, well, they're a bit more comic book like at times. I've heard that critique, and it's like, yeah, but you can paint onto the surface. uh you know you can get the sense of the environment by how you paint these large, relatively flat surfaces, whereas, like, Games Workshop, by comparison, some models are just over designed, and the details are so small that you're not going to touch them. And the only way to really paint them, if you're painting an army or painting in bulk, is you're going to do the same thing that everyone else mostly does, which is going to paint the area and then just hit it with a wash, because trying to
Hmm.
do anything else is just too fiddly and too much messing about. Uh, and that surely is going to, and that's the thing that then puts people off painting altogether. So I prefer that kind of happy uh, medium of detail and that allows you to have a great model but makes it relatively easy to paint. Um, yeah.
No, no, I agree. I mean, um, so my co-host on the Atlanteans, Jay, an amazing painter. Him and Joe, like top tier. Like they put models in for I think Adepticon, for Nova, for like P3 Masters. Like that is their level. And then you have me, and
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, you know what? I'd like to get stuff painted. I'd like to get it done. Between life and family and stuff like that, I don't have like I only have so much time
Yeah.
to like I can either paint or I can play or I can try to record a podcast or stuff like that. I don't have
Yeah.
time for everything, and I get
Yeah.
that.
Because I want to play the, I want to paint, I want to play the games, and then on top of that, I want to do my freelance writing for games and run RPGs. So you have to, like I say, you have to find a balance between it. Whereas, like, for example, this one here
Hmm.
on screen, so that's the Black Knight for Kingdom Death. So it's a larger model. So that is
Hmm.
all non-metallic metals, but
Yes.
that's because the scale of that game, which is more true scale 32 millimeter, and then you've got big monsters in it. Um, it's that every model is basically a showpiece model, so you may as well take the time. And you only gonna have to paint it. You only have to paint one. That's it. That's him done.
Hmm.
I've got a plastic backlog that is obnoxious for Kingdom Death. I need to get through it at some point, and that is my plan. Is to, with my collecting for Warmachine, to go. I've got one or two armies that are my thing, and
Hmm.
therefore I can kind of slow the collecting and then just paint certain things just for the joy of it and explore the game and the settings some more, while catching up on some other projects. Um, but yeah, like I say, you can see that I pick and choose my fights depending upon what I'm painting.
Absolutely. It's no, I get that. That's uh everything is that I wish I could be a full-time, you know, paint on YouTube or Twitch and just get paid for that, and just that was my job, but that's
Don't we all? Yeah.
that's not the reality of the situation.
Oh, it's going to get worse and worse with the way the internet is, like, trying to make money from streaming anything is just going to get worse and worse at this rate
Oh,
because
I
it's
don't think that's ever going to happen for me. I'm here to try to hopefully help people,
yeah,
understand that they can just paint and it's perfectly okay.
exactly.
But would I love that? Was that the dream? Absolutely. Is that going to happen? Probably not. And I'm okay with that. You were talking about applying washes. I know so many people that dunk their models, but I find sometimes
Oh
by brushing on a wash, like do a brown wash here, do a tan wash here, because there's so many different types of washes. So many people think, oh, just brown wash, like Agrath Earthshade or something like that. And I
yeah,
was like, no, no, you could do a black wash here, a brown wash here. I mean, if you remember the old P3s, they had all the different types of washes. Like you could do an orange wash, a red, and some of those could really bring out the color. That's what I do sometimes. I am perfectly okay doing a tan wash, a brown wash, a black, those things just to bring out some of the extra color. Like I'll do a black wash on the steel barrel here for the weapon,
yeah,
and then I'll do maybe a dark green wash on the helmets, and then I'll do a brown wash on the sandbags, and just doing that is a quick way just to get the colors out there. You were talking about
yeah.
contrast paints. For me, I've watched videos on them. I've tried to use them over the years. They just never worked for me. I want them to work for me, but I probably do something closer to like slap shopping where I do a zenithal or I do a dry brushing and then I, thin my paints out and I go from there.
That's basically how I use contrast paints. Is I'll do, if I'm doing something and I want to paint quickly, it's essentially do a slap chop with contrast paints. That's perfectly fine, and you can do some interesting things like using contrast paints as kind of a wash as well, but they're like a wash with multiple tones in there with how they shade and so forth. Um, yeah, it's looking kind of freaky and fun. So, um,
So when you paint, do
but
you
yeah,
paint for a lived in or do you paint for like a show model? Like are your troops on the battlefield or are they in garrison looking pretty and fancy?
oh no, I think it's a kind of a mix of a little bits of both. So I think my gravediggers look quite gritty because of the choice of how I'll shade the armor, which is using a lot of browns and earth tones, and the metallics are also quite dull and dingy. I think my Cador army looks kind of fresh from fresh for battle.
Okay.
But then they're based up, so they're on snow bases, so they look like they're in the environment in that respect.
Okay.
I think my Crix army looks more fresh. It's kind of a mix, isn't it, with Crix? Because you've got all the all the necrotic fleshes to paint as well. So kind of a mix, and really with them, the whole highlight is to, to really have that um, the glow effects
Hmm.
from the
The
necrotite
necrotite.
burning. Yeah, and then with the old Umbre, I think again they look more like Cador, but more lived in. Again, just
Okay.
from the choice of what metallics you use and how you shade things. But yeah, I'm not opposed to like doing things looking a little bit more battle weathered. But it really just depends what takes my fancy.
Gotcha. One of the things I like doing, especially because I can do the washes, is being able to make them look like grimy and damaged and things like that to really just give them that lived-in experience. Because like I love the idea of like a showpiece and it's beautiful and it's shiny and there's no dings or damage. But years ago in when doing Gundam, this would have been 10 or 15 years ago, probably now, and someone was taking like heating guns and stuff like that to show a melt here, or they were
Yeah,
doing a hotted steel rod and pushing through, and I was like, oh man, that is amazing, and trying to see them do that, and I was like, I love the idea of seeing that. It's like, oh yeah, this guy got shot here, this this is like mid combat, this is what's going on, and that's a cool thing to me. it's
yeah.
it kind of brings the immersion to it.
I mean, yeah. I think doing that sort of thing with Gundam is makes sense because I mean, Gundam is currently, they are just display pieces, and uh, the idea of being quite destructive with how you modify those models
Yeah, especially with the price
is
sometimes.
yeah, because the price point, you're like, oh, okay, well, I'll just buy two because then I've got double the parts to mess around with. So yeah, that's perfectly, you can do that, and that's good. I think the other thing is, I think I've never considered painting a Gundam model or a 30 minutes mission model. Um, I think obviously there's a different type of complexity there because you you really have to like properly deconstruct the model in the right way to expose the parts that you want to paint or airbrush or do or spray paint, whatever you're going to do,
Hmm.
before putting them back. So I think there's just a different kind of there's clearly a different thought process and methodology versus miniatures where you can do sub assemblies obviously for painting miniatures if they're plastic, um, but you're not deconstructing them in the same way that you deconstruct Gundam to do your painting.
So what's one of your favorite pieces you've painted, Chris?
For okay, let's just say for Warmachine, just to keep
You
it
could
easy
do
to
anything if you
think.
want, but yeah.
Um, I would say, can I see? Can I see a mini? Let me have a look. So this is kind of huge. It's one of my favorite ones. It's been paint. I've had it painted for years now. Oh god, we're gonna have to go out on this one, or I'll change to different camera. Let's
You could just put,
transition
if you want,
camera.
you can put it
There
into
we
your
go.
face. Okay, go ahead.
So that's the Dragon King for Kingdom Death. So
Hmm.
it's absolutely huge.
Kingdom Myth has
Um,
some crazy looking models that I've seen over the years. But yeah, that looks
so that's a
beautiful.
fun one. And then favorite thing. If we've got a favorite one in Warmachine, that is on hand. Um, I think I quite enjoyed painting the. I think. Oh no, I quite enjoyed painting like all of the Hellslingers
Oh,
command
Kane's
starter. That
Hellslingers.
was
Oh, you mean the new
yeah,
Hellslingers? Okay.
yeah, the new Hellslingers. Yeah, um, so that was fun. And then yeah, so yeah, I think Kingdom Death is always like where I find like the most enjoyment out of painting some minis. Have I got another one somewhere? I'm just having a look. What's behind me? Or have I got another one? I've got some like larger scale stuff as well. Let me just have a look quickly. Oh, there she is. This is more from the Kingdom Death, like you know, pin-up series. So um, it's more
Hmm.
cheesecake,
Yeah.
basically. But again, because it's a 52 millimeter model. Um, they're the type of miniatures that are kind of a good um, excuse to take the time on and to explore shading and non-metallics and so forth. So by comparison, where is it? There we go. When you get this kit, oh, you also get the same design but in 32 millimeter.
Hmm.
So I just did two
Yeah, they
somewhat different color
looks really
schemes.
good.
Um, yeah, but yeah, I think some of the more interesting designs. Oh, actually, no. The other one I quite enjoyed painting was just Chum from the
Oh,
Commodore
the
Foulblood's um,
yeah, that the
Trollkin.
two-person set for the
Yeah,
Chimera and Trollkin.
yeah.
Chum was a
That
lot of fun.
that's
He had some good detail on him.
Chum is yeah. That's a really good miniature. Like I think again, credit to Steamforge Games with like their plastics are really nicely designed. Because they have they have two plane casting. So rather than just the two halves of the mold coming together, you've actually got a third piece that can come in from the sides, which is why you've got the barrels pre-drilled on the Lockerbash brothers.
Hmm.
And so that allows you to do some interesting undercuts, and it's interesting that Steamforge Games has got obviously a manufacturer able to do that for them. When again, more recently, Games Workshop are just like I think, and this was actually an interesting video. I think where who was it? It was Kirioth, who does a lot of GW kind of like new releases and reveals and so forth, was discussing recently like who does the best miniatures, and it's like, well, yeah, it's highly subjective,
Oh
but
man, people get very intense on that subject too on the
yeah,
internet. They
and
get very
it's
aggressive.
like, and I think it really depends upon what you like stylistically. It's what you like quality wise, and what the price point is, and their ability, and I think also it's their ability to just make sets in a particular way. Like, I'm a massive fan of like Necromunda as a
Hmm.
game, um, and the miniature sets for that are fantastic because they're clearly designed in a way to allow you as many combinations as possible, and with an eye towards like you're mostly going to convert them in some way at some point. Um, whereas like I find I find certain modern GW sprues quite frustrating in
Okay.
what they do. Um, Again, this goes back to like they're making things like overly complex. I think, and that's why I think to a certain extent, I think Warmachine kind of tries to sit in a middle ground. And I think, and in that respect, then like the key thing is like ensuring models have a good silhouette, um, to make them like easily identifiable. Um, I think that's improving. I think there are some things that I'm not as a big a fan in out recently from there are some in Warmachine that I'm not a massive fan of. So I'm still umming and ahhing over the Crix Hellraker,
Okay.
the big
Yeah,
colossal.
the one
I'm not
coming out of the
quite
ground and the
yeah. I'm just
claws
not
and
quite. I'm not quite sold on it. Maybe I've just not see. I need to see it in person. I think maybe. Whereas like the Scorn Hydra looks really great, and I've got that, and I think colossal wise, I'll mostly get the I want to get the Kador one. Um,
the
Again, I'm not
conquest, the victor,
too
or the
yeah,
mastodon.
the new one. So
The mastodon.
whatever it's called, the Macedonia. Whereas like the old Umbre Colossal, again, I'm not. I think it's better than the Hellraker, but I'm not quite. Again, it's just kind of you want to see a good 360 video of it to
Hmm.
really work out what the magic angles are on it, because that's the thing. If you miniatures need at least one or two magic angles where you go right. I know what it's about, and that's what I mean. Like I think the BMOF, the new version of BMOF, is quite good for that, and I
Hmm.
think Death Jack was also pretty good for that. Death Jack, so Death Jack, I've got painted. Actually, I lied. Death Jack was a lot of fun to paint, and so was Nostilla and the Aberration. That's a really fun miniature.
That was. I actually have the all three Death Jacks, the original, then the Death Jack with Karchef, and then I guess I don't have the newest one, but I'm planning on.
Yeah,
I'm hoping it gets here soon. Is is one of those things like waiting for it. I know some
yeah,
people have gotten theirs already. Um, yeah, it's fun. So people on stream are going to be able to see that I was able to get the machine gun crew done in about 30 minutes, and this is where I talked about a lot of times where you can paint and chat with a friend. I always encourage people to, sit down at your local game store, chat with your friends over whatever, argue about, the rules of our plastic armies or our metal minis, and just paint. And you can get it done, and it works well. And like I showed you, so this is 6 colors. So this is more than what's required for GW. This is more than what's required for, Warmachine for the major events. It has the paste that painted. Well, I guess I have to do the rim at the base, but everything has different colors. You have, I did 3 different types of washes on it. I'll post the colors and stuff of what I did in the description after we're done. But you can see that I was able to chat with someone, paint, have fun, and get it done, and that in less than 45 minutes. So don't be worried about painting. Don't be worried about stressed out. This, when it's on the table and it's 4 feet or 3 feet from your opponent, he's gonna be like, that looks pretty good, and you're good to go. Um, Chris, thank you so much for coming on the channel, for helping me relaunch it. It has been so much fun to chat with you. Your pieces look beautiful. You have an amazing, awesome podcast that people should definitely go check out. I'll put a link in the description and when we're done. And thank you for telling me about how you paint. All right,
That's all
everyone.
right, not a problem.
Go ahead. If you want to say anything, go ahead.
No, no. If you've got links to everything, there's no point in me taking up more time.
No, absolutely. You tell them where to find you.
You can find me at at doc, so that's DOC_ether, ETHER on Instagram. You can find me at www.christopher-handley.com. So that's my personal blog, and has my professional stuff there. Um, and if you go to www.darker-days.org, that's everything for the podcast. You can obviously get the podcast on all major distributors. And if you go to the YouTube, you'll find you'll find episodes of the podcast there, but you also find, you know, video content, such as I'm doing the Heroes and Villains of Warmachine series. So I need to record another one at some point. I
I
think
liked
I'm
your
going to
Allison
record
Jakes
one.
episode.
Oh, right. Thank you. Yeah. She's been through a lot. Um,
Yeah, she
Chloe
has.
got like I said, I want to see her team up with Sorcerer, and for both of them to take on Orsus the Orsus the Betrayer, because like
Yes.
they both have beef, and they can just like girl boss him to hell and back. Um,
Well, I mean, she killed
I
or Orsis killed what was his name? Her mentor in War Machine Tactics.
uh,
And then
yes,
he
that's
became
right.
a
Yeah,
mini and he came back from the dead and then she had to attack and kill him again and yeah, so
yeah.
she really hates Orsis. Like she has some problems with him.
Yeah, right. And Sorcerer's dad got killed by him, so they've both
Mhm.
got legit reasons why to take him on. So yeah, there's that. I'm also doing with Hamilton over at Theatre Macabre. We're doing we did previously before Christmas. We did a recorded series of Warhammer: The Old World RPG, which I wrote for. So we are now doing. We've recorded the first two sessions. So we've done character creation and then session one of the actual scenario of Imperium Maledictum, which is the Warhammer 40k RPG that is more like the old Dark Heresy kind of stuff, where you're playing just investigative human type characters in the Imperium. You're not playing like Space Marines.
Mhm.
Um, so that's a lot of fun. Yeah, so that's basically all the stuff that's going on right now. And then there's going to be some more stuff soon, that I'm trying to sort out with various people. So more news to come soon.
I can't wait to hear more of stuff that you're doing for War Machine and IKRPG hopefully. Fingers crossed.
Yeah,
It'll be
yeah,
awesome, hopefully. And thank you so much for coming on. It's been a pleasure. If you ever want to come back on and chat and paint and
yeah, sure.
have fun, we'd love to have you. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for coming out, and we will see you guys later. All right. Bye. And did it end? Hold on.